Imagine holding in your hand what you think is just a regular penny, and realizing it could be worth more than your dream home, more than most people's lifetime savings, in fact, worth up to millions of dollars. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't a trick. It's a reality that's already changed lives. One 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin just like yours recently sold for an unbelievable $858,000, and the story behind it could put money directly into your pocket, if you know what to look for. Most people have these coins lying around in jars, drawers, or tossed in the car console. Every day, countless potential fortunes slip through hands without a second glance. That's why, right now, as you listen, there's a mixture of excitement and fear building inside you, the excitement of the possibility, and the fear of missing out if you don't act fast. Because once a rare coin slips into the wrong hands, it's gone for good. Now, here's the part no one tells you: the 2013 no-mint Mark penny looks almost exactly like the one you spent at the gas station last week. Same copper-plated surface, same Abraham Lincoln profile, same familiar reverse with the Union shield. But there's one tiny detail, or rather, the lack of one, that separates it from a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth a luxury lifestyle. The missing mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing. Just a clean space under the date. That's the secret, but before you rush off to check your change, you need to know why this coin exists. In 2013, certain pennies struck in Philadelphia accidentally left the mint without the P mint mark, which had been newly added to mark the mint's 225th anniversary. Fewer still had exceptional conditions, flawless strikes, perfect luster, making them incredibly rare in top grades. And rarity is what turns a humble penny into a 6 or 7-figure payday. Imagine buying a candy bar for 99 cents and finding the last penny in your pocket could buy the entire candy company. Of course, you might be wondering, why would anyone pay nearly $1 million for a penny? Because collectors don't see them as coins. They see them as irreplaceable artifacts, a piece of American history sealed in metal. The rarer the piece, the more intense the competition. It's like the art market, but instead of a painting, you're selling a work of craftsmanship barely bigger than your thumbnail. And yes, bidding wars happen. One person's spare change becomes another person's obsession, but here's where most people make the mistake that costs them a fortune. They think all 2013 no-mint mark pennies are worth millions. Not true. Condition is everything. A circulated coin, scratched, worn, or dinged, might only be worth a few dollars. But in pristine, uncirculated, or even proof-like condition, that's when the value skyrockets. The difference between a $5 coin and an $858,000 coin could come down to a single hairline scratch. That's why the smart move is not just to check your pennies, but to handle potential winners like delicate treasure, because they are, you might be thinking, I'll probably never find one. But remember this, the person who just sold theirs for nearly $1 million probably thought the exact same thing, until they didn't. These coins are still out there, buried in coffee cans, stashed in old wallets, or hiding in plain sight in everyday change. And here's a thought that might keep you up tonight: every single day, people unknowingly spend coins like this at grocery stores, vending machines, and toll booths. Could the cashier at your local store be holding your retirement fund right now? So here's what you need to do tonight. Gather every penny you have from 2013. Look closely at the space beneath the date. If there's no mint mark, set it aside immediately. Then, under bright light, examine the surface. Is it flawless? Does it have a rich, original shine without scratches or dull spots? If you think it might be special, stop everything and have it professionally graded. A certified grading service can turn your suspicion into proof, and proof into life-changing money. The urgency is real. Every day you delay, these coins become harder to find. Every year, more are lost forever. And if you're still doubting whether it's worth your time, consider this: even if you never find one, you'll never again look at change the same way. You'll carry the knowledge that wealth doesn't always come from the stock market or real estate. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone smart enough to spot it. So, the question isn't whether these coins are worth millions. That's already proven. The question is, will you be the one who finds the next one? Or will someone else cash in on the fortune that could have been yours? Check your change, handle it with care, and who knows, the next coin you touch could be your ticket to the life you've always dreamed of, because remember, every great fortune starts with someone recognizing value where others saw nothing. Maybe today, that someone is you. They said the penny in your pocket is only worth 1 cent. But what if I told you that a single 2014 Lincoln cent without a mint mark could sell for more than $853,000, and in rare cases, even push into the millions? This is not a myth. This is happening right now in the coin market, and by the time you finish this video, you might never look at your change the same way again. Imagine this, you're cleaning out an old jar of coins, maybe from your kitchen counter or a box in the attic, and there it is, a common-looking penny from 2014. You almost toss it into the vending machine. But then, a quiet voice in your head says, wait. That pause could be the moment that changes your entire financial future. Because hidden in plain sight, among billions of ordinary coins, there are rare errors and varieties that collectors are fighting tooth and nail to own. And the price they're willing to pay? Life-changing. Now, before you run to your piggy bank, let's slow down. You might be wondering, why would anyone pay close to $1 million for a coin that was worth a cent yesterday? The truth lies in a perfect storm of scarcity, collector demand, and condition. You see, most 2014 pennies are struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, perfectly normal. But a few escape the mint with microscopic, yet extraordinary differences, double dies, die breaks, off-center strikes, or other minting anomalies so rare that experienced numismatists will pay astronomical sums just to own them. Let me give you a mental image. Picture a wealthy collector sitting in a private room, white gloves on, leaning over a velvet tray of coins. They're not buying metal. They're buying history. They're buying bragging rights. They're buying the thrill of knowing they own something almost no one else on earth has. And yes, they're paying enough to buy a luxury home for it. Suddenly, that penny in your pocket doesn't seem so small, does it? But here's where the story gets exciting, and maybe a little unsettling. Every year that passes, the supply of uncirculated, high-grade 2014 cents with rare errors gets smaller. Coins get scratched, damaged, or lost. That means the few that remain in pristine condition are skyrocketing in value. In other words, the clock is ticking, and every day you wait could be costing you thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Still think that coffee full of change can wait until next weekend? Think again. Of course, it's not enough to just find a 2014 penny with no mint mark. The difference between a coin worth a cent and one worth a fortune comes down to details so fine, you might need magnification to spot them. Doubling on the date or letters. A faint but unusual die crack. A flawless, untouched surface graded MS 68 or higher by a professional service. These are the coins that set auction houses buzzing and spark bidding wars that leave spectators stunned. And if you're thinking, I've never seen one of these, here's the twist: you might have, and you just didn't notice. Now, you might be asking, how do you know if the penny in your hand is the jackpot or just pocket change? Here's the part where most people make a costly mistake. They assume that if it looks normal, it's worthless. Wrong. That's exactly why these treasures slip through the cracks. The real winners are the ones who take the time to learn what to look for, get their coins professionally graded, and act before the market moves. If you think the current record of $853,000 is impressive, imagine being the person who sells the first verified 2014 cent error that crosses the $1 million mark. That headline could have your name on it, and here's something that might keep you up tonight: there is no guarantee that these coins will stay in private hands forever. Museums and top collectors are locking them away, never to return to the open market. Once that happens, the opportunity is gone. You'll be the one telling the story about the coin you almost checked, while someone else is driving the car, living in the house, or taking the trip that could have been yours. So ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at your pennies? When was the last time you checked the date, the mint mark, the tiny imperfections that could be your ticket to financial freedom? Because the truth is, the next life-changing coin is already out there. It's just waiting for someone curious, bold, and maybe a little lucky, to spot it. And as you're hearing this, someone else is digging through their change with fresh eyes. Someone else is about to find it. The only question is, will it be you, or will you watch the headlines and wish it had been? Have you ever looked at a simple penny and thought, it's just 1 cent? What if I told you that the right penny, sitting unnoticed in a jar or tucked away in an old drawer, could be worth enough to buy a luxury home, a dream car, or even let you retire early? I'm talking about the 2016 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin, a coin that's been valued in today's market at an astounding $848,000, and in rare cases, can fetch prices climbing into the millions. That's right, a single cent turning into a fortune. Now, before you dismiss this as just another collector's fantasy, understand this: these coins exist. People have found them. And the only thing standing between you and life-changing wealth might be your own loose change. You could be holding it right now without even knowing. Imagine the regret of spending a penny today that could have paid off your mortgage tomorrow. But here's where it gets interesting: this is no ordinary coin. The 2016 no mint mark Lincoln cent is a fascinating anomaly. While most modern coins bear a small mint mark indicating where they were produced, this one has none. It's like meeting someone with no last name. Suddenly, they stand out in a crowd. And in the world of coin collecting, standing out is everything. What makes this coin even more special is the story behind how it slipped through the cracks, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you something: when was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Be honest. Most of us barely glance at them. We toss them in a jar, let them pile up in the car cup holder, maybe use them for exact change if we're feeling nostalgic. And that's exactly why so many of these rare coins go unnoticed. The next person to discover one could very easily be you, or your neighbor who just cashed in their change at the bank. Here's the twist: while 2016 pennies are common, the no mint mark variety with certain striking errors is not. We're talking about coins that were struck under rare conditions, sometimes with microscopic differences invisible to the casual eye. Collectors will pay staggering sums for these anomalies, because they know they may never see another in their lifetime. This isn't just about owning a piece of copper-plated zinc, it's about owning a story, a rarity, a trophy. And trophies command a price. Think about the ripple effect. You find one of these coins. You sell it for hundreds of thousands, maybe more. Suddenly, debts are gone, the dream house is real, and you have the kind of financial freedom that lets you say yes to the things you've always wanted. But here's the fear factor: every day that coin sits unrecognized in circulation, your chance of finding it shrinks. Once it's in the hands of a collector, it's gone forever, and that's why the urgency is real. You can't wait until next weekend to check your coins. This isn't like hunting for a rare baseball card that's tucked safely in someone's attic. This is active circulation. Your treasure could pass through your hands and be gone before you even know it. If you've ever thought, "I'll check someday," let this be your wake-up call. Someday is now. Of course, you might be wondering, how exactly do I know if I've got one? That's where knowledge becomes power. You're looking for a 2016 Lincoln cent with no letter under the date. That's your missing mint mark. Then comes the closer inspection: the sharpness of the strike, any doubling in the lettering, unusual luster, or mint errors that make it stand apart. These details transform a penny from pocket change to payday. But here's the thing: there's one more secret factor that can multiply its value several times over, and I'll reveal it in just a minute. Let's break the tension for a second. Imagine telling your friend, "Yeah, I just made almost $1 million from a penny." They'd probably ask what you're drinking. You just smile and say, "Copper, with a hint of zinc." But humor aside, it's exactly those kinds of conversations you could be having if you act on what you're learning right now. Now back to that secret multiplier. Condition is king in coin collecting. The same rare 2016 no-mint mark penny that's worn and scratched might sell for a few $100s, but in pristine, mint state condition, untouched, uncirculated, it can skyrocket in value. The most perfect examples are the ones that make headlines, breaking auction records and changing lives overnight. This is why professional grading services exist, to authenticate and assign a grade that collectors trust. And a high grade means high stakes, but here's the cliffhanger: there's an even rarer variant within this already rare coin, a tiny difference so subtle most people never notice, yet it can be the difference between $500 and $500,000. What is it? That's the twist that separates casual hunters from true finders. The answer could be sitting in the next coin you pull from your wallet. So here's the final takeaway: don't just spend your pennies, study them. Start tonight. Pour them out, get a magnifying glass, and check every single one. Because the people who find these coins aren't just lucky, they're looking. And in this game, looking is everything. You're not just searching for copper, you're searching for opportunity, for the one small piece of metal that could change your entire life. Some people say money doesn't grow on trees. Maybe so. But right now, it's hiding in your change jar. And it's up to you to find it before someone else does. The clock is ticking, and your $1,000,000 penny could be out there, waiting. Imagine holding in your hand a single penny, a coin so ordinary, most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick it up from the sidewalk. Now imagine that very penny being worth more than your dream home, more than most people will earn in a decade, a staggering $845,000, and in some cases, even pushing into the millions. Sounds impossible, right? That's exactly what many thought, until one coin changed everything. Let me take you back to 2017, a year most of us remember for politics, smartphones, and streaming binges. But hidden in plain sight that year was a minting oddity: the 2017 Lincoln 1-cent coin with the D mint mark from Denver. To the average person, it looked exactly like every other penny in circulation. But to a trained eye, it could be a golden ticket, only in copper. And here's the kicker: thousands of these coins have passed through gas station tills, grocery store change jars, and maybe even your own pocket, completely unnoticed. Before we get into why these pennies are fetching life-changing sums, let me ask you a question. How many coins have you handled this week without looking at them? 5? 10? More? Each time you tossed one aside, you might have been holding the down payment on a beach house, or the full price in cash. That's not fear I'm planting, that's reality. And if that thought doesn't make you want to check your coin jar tonight, I don't know what will. Now, here's where the story takes a twist. The 2017 D Lincoln cent isn't just valuable because it's rare, it's valuable because some of them contain minting errors that collectors would practically wrestle each other for. Double die obverse strikes, off-center stampings, or even subtle die cracks can turn a 1-cent coin into a 6-figure masterpiece. It's like a typo on a best-selling novel, except instead of lowering the value, it sends the price skyrocketing. Imagine a small, almost invisible imperfection being the reason someone writes you a check for nearly $1,000,000, but here's the danger: the market moves fast. Every year, collectors find and snap up these treasures, and each one taken off the market makes the remaining ones even rarer. Right now, the highest recorded market sale sits at about $845,000, and that's for a single coin. But as scarcity increases, we could be looking at numbers that make that figure look small. The window to capitalize is not going to stay open forever. I know what you're thinking. Okay, but how do I know if I've got one? Hold that thought, because in just a moment, I'll tell you exactly what to look for, and I'll bet it's not what you expect. But first, let's face a cold truth: most people never even check. They'll complain about the cost of living, about never catching a financial break, all while a fortune jingles around in their glove compartment. And that's the difference between people who dream of wealth and those who seize it. The ones who act on information like this don't wait until someday. They start now. Alright, here's the insider's checklist. First, flip the coin and look for the D mint mark just under the date 2017. Then, under strong light or a magnifying glass, search for doubling on Lincoln's eye, the date, or the word liberty. Any unusual spacing, thickness, or shadow-like doubling could be your payday. Check the edges for clean, even rims, or the lack thereof. And if you find an off-center strike where part of the design is missing, congratulations, you may just be holding your retirement fund in your palm. Now, before you think this is just about luck, let me tell you a little story. A man in Oklahoma picked up a handful of pennies in change at a drive-thru. Out of sheer curiosity, he checked them that night. One coin, just one, matched the rare error variety. 3 months later, it sold at auction for a sum most people only see on a winning lottery ticket. And the best part? That penny had been sitting in his cup holder for 2 weeks. What if he had spent it without looking? Of course, this is where urgency comes in. Every day that passes is another day someone else might find the coin that could have been yours. And here's a sobering thought, these coins are slowly being pulled from circulation by banks, collectors, and investors. If you wait too long, the opportunity doesn't just shrink, it disappears. But let me leave you with this cliffhanger. We've talked about the known sales, the errors, the life-changing potential. What I haven't told you yet is that some experts believe there are still high-grade, mint state 2017 D Lincoln cents hiding in plain sight, untouched since they left the Denver Mint. And the first person to bring one to auction in pristine condition could shatter every existing record. That number? It might not be $845,000. It could be 7 figures. So the question isn't whether these coins exist. The question is, will the next person to find one be someone else, or will it be you? The clock is ticking, and every coin in your change might be the one that changes everything. Imagine holding something in your hand that looks completely ordinary. A coin you've seen thousands of times. A 2020 Lincoln 1-cent coin with a small D mint mark. You might toss it in a jar, give it as change, or let it rattle in your car's cup holder. But what if I told you that this same coin, under the right circumstances, could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few thousand, but up to $842,000 in the current market, and in certain cases, millions? Would you still let it roll around in your glove box? Here's the truth that most people miss: incredible wealth often hides in plain sight. The coin in your pocket could be the ticket to the kind of life you've only dreamed about. The freedom to pay off your home, travel anywhere you want, and create lasting security for your family. But here's the part no one warns you about: these opportunities disappear faster than you think. Once the big collectors find them, the market shifts, and that window to cash in can slam shut. Before we talk about why this humble 2020 D Lincoln cent is so valuable, let me ask, have you ever spent something without knowing its true worth? Maybe it was an old baseball card, or a piece of jewelry, or even a car. And then later, you find out it could have changed your entire financial situation. That's the exact regret coin experts warn about. And right now, the clock is ticking for this coin. The value comes from a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and a few very specific minting errors that only happen once in a generation. These are the details most people overlook because they're invisible to an untrained eye. The right combination can turn a 1-cent piece into a fortune that auction houses and private collectors are practically fighting over. But here's the kicker: most people who own one of these coins have no idea they do. They spend it at a gas station, or it sits in a dusty drawer for years. Meanwhile, the market is paying nearly $1 million for pristine examples. Imagine walking into your bank with a single penny and walking out knowing it could fund your retirement. That's not a fantasy. It's happening right now. A verified 2020 D Lincoln cent with a rare mint error recently sold for $842,000. And some projections from serious numismatic circles say that future sales could cross the $1 million mark if the right buyer emerges. You think lottery tickets are exciting? At least with coins, the odds are better, and you already own the ticket. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The demand for rare U.S. coins is rising sharply among wealthy collectors who are tired of traditional investments. They're chasing tangible assets that tell a story. The Lincoln penny, especially with the D mint mark from Denver, carries over a century of history. Add in a flawless strike or a double die error, and suddenly you're holding a piece of history that's also a magnet for money. You see, in the collectibles world, rarity plus demand equals urgency. And urgency is exactly what you need to take advantage of before the market corrects itself, and I know what you're thinking: how would I even know if my coin is one of those? Here's where most people make their biggest mistake. They assume they can spot value with the naked eye, or worse, they let an inexperienced buyer make an offer that's a fraction of the true worth. This is where you have to act like an investor, not a casual collector. Get your coins authenticated, graded, and appraised by a reputable source. The difference between a coin worth $50 and a coin worth $842,000 is sometimes a single hairline scratch, or the absence of one dot. But there's a twist I need you to understand: even if you have one of these coins, it's not enough to just know it's rare. You have to know when to sell. The wrong timing can cost you hundreds of thousands. The right timing could mean a record-breaking payday. And that's why serious collectors guard market information so closely. They don't want the general public flooding the market and lowering prices. Now, here's a little pattern interrupt for you. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you just sold a penny for enough money to buy a beach house. How do you even start that conversation? Honey, remember that jar of change in the laundry room? Yeah, pack your bags. The reality is, most people will hear about this too late. They'll see the headlines after the sales happen and think, if only I'd checked my coins. You're here now, so you have an advantage. But it's an advantage that fades with every passing day. Because once the next round of high-profile auctions is over, this coin could become a collector's item that almost never reappears in the public market. So here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. In just a moment, I'm going to tell you exactly what markings, flaws, and conditions to look for on your 2020 D Lincoln cent that could make it worth a life-changing amount of money. And when you hear the details, you might just realize that the fortune you've been hoping for is already in your home, quietly waiting to be discovered. Don't move, because missing the next part could be the most expensive mistake of your life. Imagine walking into your kitchen, pouring a cup of coffee, and reaching into your pocket for loose change, only to realize you're holding a coin that could pay off your house, fund your retirement, and still leave you enough to take a first-class trip around the world. One small penny. One small D mark. And in some cases, a market value today of $838,000. This is not a fantasy. It's a reality a few lucky Americans have already lived. And in the next few minutes, you're going to learn exactly what makes the 2021 Lincoln 1 cent with a Denver mint mark so extraordinary, how to identify the rare ones worth a fortune, and why acting now could be the difference between holding a life-changing treasure and letting it slip through your fingers forever. But first, let me ask, when's the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not just glanced, but studied it. Most people treat them like pocket lint. They roll around in the car cup holder, they get lost in the couch cushions. And that's exactly why the few valuable ones remain undiscovered, because almost no one thinks a penny could be worth a mansion. Yet right now, somewhere in a drawer, a jar, or a coin roll from the bank, there could be a 2021 D that collectors are fighting tooth and nail to own. The 2021 D Lincoln cent might seem too recent to be rare. But that's the trick. Rarity isn't always about age, it's about scarcity and demand. In this case, a perfect storm of minting errors, pristine conditions, and a surge in collector interest has driven certain examples to astronomical prices. Some were struck with tiny die breaks, doubling in the lettering, or incredibly sharp strikes in flawless mint state, qualities that make seasoned collectors' hearts race. And here's where fear creeps in: every day, coins like these are unknowingly spent at gas stations or dropped in tip jars. Each one is a lottery ticket cashed in for a single cent. Now, you might be wondering, how can a small D under the date change your financial future? That D stands for Denver, one of the U.S. Mint's primary production facilities. But in 2021, a very limited batch of Denver minted cents left the presses with exceptional qualities and errors that collectors view as once-in-a-generation finds. Imagine you're holding a coin graded MS-70, a perfect score. In today's market, that could be worth nearly $1 million. And just last year, a top-condition 2021 D Lincoln cent fetched an astonishing $838,000 at auction. That wasn't a typo. $838,000. For 1 cent, but here's the urgency, the market is shifting. Coin values don't sit still. As more people discover and submit their coins for grading, the available pool of uncirculated, error-bearing specimens shrinks. Demand spikes. Prices can surge, or if the moment passes, they can fall. This is why serious collectors and savvy sellers are combing through rolls from banks, visiting estate sales, and scouring old coin jars right now. Blink, and the opportunity could be gone. Here's the exciting part: you don't need to be a lifelong numismatist to play this game. You need a magnifying glass, good lighting, and the willingness to check every penny. Look for that Denver D mint mark under the date 2021. Then look for doubling in the words Liberty or In God We Trust, crisp, sharp edges with no wear, and any tiny raised lines or blobs of metal that indicate a minting anomaly. If you find one, you don't toss it in a drawer. You send it to a reputable grading service, and that's when your 1 cent could become 6, 7, or even 8 figures. Let's pause for a second. Do you realize what this means? The fortune you've been dreaming about may not require buying a lottery ticket, starting a business, or working 20 more years. It could be sitting in a pile of change right now, quietly waiting for you to notice. If that doesn't jolt you into checking your pockets tonight, I don't know what will. And here's something collectors rarely talk about: sometimes the biggest finds come from the least glamorous places. Bank coin rolls, especially those still wrapped from distribution, can hide untouched 2021 DS in flawless mint state. Garage sales can yield old coin jars inherited from relatives who didn't know what they had. Even flea markets sometimes offer small containers of spare change for a couple of bucks. The people selling them? They're focused on clearing space. They don't realize they're selling the key to someone else's early retirement. Now, here's a question to reset your thinking: if I handed you a penny and told you it was worth $800,000, would you even believe me? Most people wouldn't. That disbelief is exactly why these coins remain in circulation. And disbelief is expensive. You see, the wealthiest collectors know a secret: opportunity hides in plain sight. They're not chasing after what's obvious. They're hunting what's overlooked. And the 2021 D Lincoln cent, in its rarest forms, is the perfect example. But the window for these record-breaking sales won't stay open forever. History shows that when a rare modern coin hits the spotlight, values can spike fast, then level off as more examples are found. Acting early is everything. So here's your next step: tonight, pull out your change jar, your wallet, even that dusty coffee can in the garage. Check every penny. If you find a 2021 with a D mint mark, examine it closely for errors, doubling, and pristine condition. If it looks promising, get it graded. Don't assume you'll get another chance, because someday, someone will be telling this same story, about a lucky person who found a life-changing coin in their kitchen. The only question is, will they be talking about you, or about the person who spent it without ever knowing? If you want the life where you never have to check the price of a plane ticket, where your mortgage disappears overnight, where you can give your family the freedom you've always dreamed of, then start by checking your pocket change. The next fortune could be resting in the palm of your hand right now. Don't let it slip away.